and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here tonight, guys. And yeah, it is quite late into the night. Maybe it is where you are, maybe it isn't. But well, I just kind of thought right here, I need to say something. I need to talk more about this, because I tell you what, there's no chance I can go to sleep after that performance there and that kind of result from Barca. So we're going to do this a little bit differently in today's video right after the game. This is going to be sort of in podcast format, I guess. There's not going to be an awful lot going on screen, but we need to talk. We need to get some emotion out there, because I've got to say, I'm just disappointed tonight. From what I saw from Barca out there, the start of the season that we've had, the kind of transfer window that we've had, I guess there's a lot of concern in me right now, and all throughout the summer, I've thought, have I been too negative? Am I sort of getting too down on the team? Are we expecting too much? But I just think that game out there tonight, look at the way that we defend, you look at the way that we approach the game, especially in the second half, you look at the first half against Levante, I think the warning signs are there, and I think if we ignore them, if we don't actually look at what's going on, if we don't address certain things that are happening in the team, you need to do it now. You need to act now. You need to address them and sort of understand what's going wrong now at the start of a new season, because if you let these problems sort of fester, if you let them really get out of control, your season can start to spiral. And I think that's why in the opening weeks of the season here, Hansi Flick has been quite frustrated. I mean, you remember that even the game against Mallorca, we won that game 3-0. He was genuinely angry after that match, and it wasn't really to do with the performance in terms of the first half. We were very good, won that game 3-0, like I say, but it's the attitude of the players. That's what he was looking at right there in the first game, and I think that's really continued. I mean, even tonight, you took the lead against Rayo. We did the hard thing right. We got the early goal. The penalty, would you say that was a definite penalty? Would you say that was a clear penalty? In my opinion, I think it was clumsy. That's the way I'd look at the challenge coming in there. If you're inside your own box, you don't kind of lunge in that way. You give the referee a decision to make. But in my opinion, even with my big Barca hat on, and I've always got that big Barca hat on, it was probably a soft penalty. That's my honest opinion there. That challenge comes in on Yamal. I think we make the most of the situation. I think at times, we're probably due a bit of luck from referees in La Liga. We do not get that very often. But in all honesty, it was probably a soft penalty. And that was the only goal we scored today. There were chances, in and around the penalty area. Rafinha had a few, didn't he, today, whereby he could have passed one of them clearly onto Ferran. He was very, very unhappy about that. Another one he actually tried to then square it to Ferran, but just got the final ball wrong, so that didn't really work out. I think I'd also look as well today at Dani Olmo. I think he had key chances, and not only key chances, big chances in front of goal, but I think they came at big times in the game. He had one before half-time, a real opportunity there inside of the box. It's a great chance, and if we go 2-0 up, it's a whole different game. I think at that point, if Rayo go in 2-0 down, they are deflated. They feel hard done by the penalty. The fans are quite upset and frustrated inside the stadium. You could imagine 2-0, that's tough to come back from. And then the second half as well, Olmo had another one. Ferran did a good job of just laying a pass off to him on the edge of the box. Didn't even get it on target. Those are big opportunities in games whereby those moments matter, because you're playing against a very spirited team in Rayo. You know what they're going to do. Of course, we are playing tonight on a pitch that was horrendous. Can we say that? Can we be honest about that here, guys? Because, yeah, we're not going to make excuses. I'm not going to say tonight, we lost because of the pitch, because the stadium that we are playing in wasn't up to standards. But the reality is, in a top league, in what is, in La Liga, supposed to be one of the biggest, most major leagues in the world, all the money, they're trying to save with these players and these restrictions and the fair play. What is Tebas's aim? Because you look out there tonight, where's the money going? Where's all these savings? Where's all the money that's being generated from transfers that Tebas is forcing La Liga clubs to make? Where's it going? Because it's not going on the pitches. I tell you that now. That pitch tonight was absolutely shocking to play on. But yeah, Rayo, they came back at us. They caused us a lot of problems. And I guess in all of the games that we've played so far this season, it's never been easier to get through this Barca team. Now, admittedly, last season, we weren't the most defensively solid team ever. We had that high line. We used that mainly to attack with. We got nice and high up the field. We won the ball back quickly. We didn't have far to go then to get to the opponent's goal. That was the way that we played. High intensity, high octane football. And it worked. For most part of last season, it worked very, very well. We scored a lot of goals. We made a lot of comebacks. It was all working very, very nicely. But the problem now is, you look at the team today, one, we didn't score, more than one goal. We didn't actually create a number of real high-quality chances. We don't quite look the same going forward, and certainly the changes that we made here today, Rafinha coming off early, that was a surprise in my opinion. Rashford comes on in his place. He hasn't got up to speed yet, has he? Rashford is not quite clicking with everything going on around him. Of course, it's a new league. It's a very different club to what he's experienced before. It is going to take time, but it's not quite happening there. And for Rafinha to come off, he didn't look too happy either, did he? You've got to say that Rafinha did not look happy to be coming off on the hour mark, but it's a change there that didn't really materialise into something good for Barca. Fermin Lopez came on as well. Lots of speculation still going on surrounding him. Dani Olmo coming off, and like we said, we've already spoken about Olmo's impact, or maybe a bit of a lack of it. Compared to the start of last season, Olmo last season, early on, he was firing. He actually won the game for us last season against Rayo Vallecano. He was decisive. He was really, really clutch. We're not quite seeing that same sharpness in his game right now. And the problem is for Barca, if you're not scoring, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals a game, which we were for so much of last season, we were incredible in front of goal. If you're not scoring those amounts of goals, we are vulnerable defensively. And the problem that we have, and this is why I've been kind of moaning and complaining, I admit that I have been quite disappointed with our transfer window. But the reason why I've been so passionate about that is our defence is now worse. We do have Joan García, who I will come on to, because that man, he is incredible. I love everything about him. But in terms of our actual defence, in front of him, the back four, the defensive line, it's worse because we've lost Inigo Martinez. Now, last season, we knew we needed to strengthen those defensive areas. Did we do that in the summer? For some reason, Barcelona never really looked too far into defensive signings. It was almost as though, we just don't care. We're just going to go forward. We're going to look at strikers. We're going to look at attacking options. We're going to score more and more goals. Who cares about the defence? Well, now we do care about defence. Now we're seeing teams really get at us, really cut us apart in many, many different stages, many, many different periods of the game here. Rayo dominated those attacking areas. I mean, genuinely, guys. And it wasn't even as though it's hard. I guess that's the issue here. It's not as though we've played real high-quality teams early on in the season who have such intricate attacking players. It's not necessarily a case of that here. We've played Mallorca, we've played Levante, we've played now Rayo Vallecano. They're decent teams, they've got decent attacking players, but they're not having to work that hard to find their way through. You look at it tonight, there were several long balls that they played. They went long, they went direct, it took one long pass. Barca are wide open defensively, and what worries me right now, Flick does not know his best back line. It seems as though he has no idea who we can count on, particularly there at centre-back. That is why we keep seeing different combinations, and we want to experiment. We want to try and understand, who is our best option. But look, we're doing it in league games. This is not pre-season anymore. We're now having to experiment. We're now having to sort of learn on the job. And that's ultimately because he's one of his best defenders from last season. Inigo was just taken from him. It's not as though he expected it to come this summer. It's not as though he was almost prepared for that to happen. Nobody thought Inigo was going to go. He's gone. We haven't replaced him. And suddenly now, in the season, it's underway, and we are having to play catch up. And Barca right now, they look very shaky at the back, very, very disorientated, very disorganised. We also look lethargic in our pressing. We look like a team here who are not quite playing with the same intensity as last season. Now, of course, it is Flick's second year. Of course, as time goes on, players, they can get a little bit wavering maybe in their focus, in their trust maybe in the system or the ideas. But that can't happen. In this system, if you are not pressing at your maximum, if you're not applying constant pressure on the ball, teams will open you up. And it doesn't matter who it is, as we've seen, whether you're newly promoted, whether you're a team with limited attacking players, if there's not pressure on the ball, spaces will open up. And we are seeing teams here taking advantage of that. And like I said, the only reason why we come out of this game today with a point, the only reason why we're not actually even more angry, even more frustrated, even more disappointed, the only reason is Joan García. And that is the thing today that luckily it saves me. It brings something to me. It brings me some sort of kind spirit right now. He brings a smile to my face, because that performance out there, he was amazing, guys, wasn't he? How good was it to see a Barcelona goalkeeper dominate? I mean, of course we want to see us dominating in other areas of the pitch. We'd love to see our attackers and our midfielders and our defenders dominating. But when he was called upon today, boy, did he stand up. And I just love him. I love his attitude there. You can see it in his eyes. You know, he is somebody who is giving everything. He will jump in front of any shot, any cross is coming for it, anything there around his feet. He's willing to just dive in there. He has no regard for himself. You know, he's putting it all on the line there for his team. And I was just so impressed with him. There were so many chances today for Rayo. You know, some of them were actually offside. You know, after the action happens, after the shot is taken, you know, the flag goes up. But remember, in those situations, even if it is then going to be offside anyway, Joan García doesn't know that. You know, the attacking players don't know that either. They're putting everything into that strike. He's got to save it. And he did time and time and time again. And it's funny because when he actually signed there from Espanyol, you know, they're a team who obviously have come under a lot of pressure. They're down towards the bottom end of the league a lot of the time. A lot of people said, oh, Joan García, why have we signed him? He's coming from a team in Espanyol where he's going to get lots of attempts on goal. He's going to get lots of opportunities there to make saves. At Barca, that's not going to happen. He's not going to be called into action as much, is he, to impress? He was tonight. You know, this is somebody who we absolutely depended on, and he didn't let us down. That was a big moment, a big statement tonight, I feel, from Joan García. There was lots of noise throughout the summer, lots of people saying, oh, you know, is it the right call? You know, should he be the new number one? What has he done to deserve it there ahead of Marc-Andre ter Stegen? I just hope that everybody can see right now, this is why he's here. This is why Joan García is the Barcelona number one, with or without ter Stegen in the team. Whether he's fit, whether he's not, Joan García is there, and that's because he's an unbelievable shot stopper. He is somebody who can save the team. And in recent years, we have honestly lacked that. There has been times here where Barca have been wide open defensively, where teams are putting us under constant pressure, and you're thinking, okay, the rest of the team is failing. You know, tonight it wasn't good from Barca. The defence was absolutely nowhere to be seen. And your last port of call, your last bit of hope, it's the goalkeeper. You're thinking, can you rescue us? Can you bail us out? Can you do something to save us here from embarrassment, from disappointment? Can you at least give us 1 point to walk away with? Joan García did that. He is a goalkeeper who will win us points. And even though we're frustrated today, guys, even though we are angry about the way that Barca are playing, we're angry about the way that they're not quite looking like they were last season, and that's worrying, that's concerning. But one big thing that's changed, and one thing that will help us in the biggest of games and in the biggest of moments when you need it most, Joan García can step up. He is a goalkeeper with character, with personality, and with absolutely unreal reflexes. So if there's nothing else that we can take away from today's game, if there's nothing else that we can be truly positive and happy and excited about, just let him be the one thing. Just let Joan García's performance tonight be that one thing that keeps you going in the morning, that keeps you going when you've got to go into work or when you've got to go somewhere that you don't really want to on Monday. Just think about the special Joan. Just think about him, guys. So please do let me know in the comments down below. All seriousness here. What is happening right now with Barca? Where do you feel that the problems lie? What do we need to do over the course of this international break? What should we be thinking about here to improve upon? Where is it going wrong? And what is different? What's the most different thing right now about this Barca team at the start of this new season and the Barca that we saw emerge at the start of last season, guys? Let me know all of those thoughts down below. We're going to be talking a lot. You know, we're going to have a lot to discuss here, a lot to analyse over the course of the international break, and I do hope you will all tune in here and join me for that, because I need you guys. I need your opinions, and I need to understand what you're all feeling. So let me know all that down below. I will be here with you, make no mistake, and thank you for joining me as well in this different kind of match reaction video. I'm going to try and get some sleep now, although I just hope I don't have nightmares. I just hope I don't have nightmares about Rayo bursting through our defence. They're through on goal. They're in. It's disaster for Barca. But it's okay. Joan García, he will save me. I have no doubt about that. I will see you guys soon. But until next time, as always, Vasca, El Barça.